They say a king fears no man. They lie. I, King Solomon, feared myself, and the day I almost lost everything did not come with a gleaming sword, nor with hushed betrayal in the courts. No enemy breached our gates. No army rose to topple the majesty of Jerusalem. No, it came quietly, like a creeping mist into the darkest corners of my soul, and it began with pride. I was at the peak of my glory, a pinnacle of power and prosperity that no one in Israel had ever reached. The treasuries of my palace overflowed with so much gold it became as common as the stones on the ground. Distant nations, from kingdoms never before seen, knelt and paid tribute to my name. The wisdom that God, the Eternal One, had granted me had become a living legend, an echo that crossed deserts and seas. Queens traveled vast expanses of sand to test me with riddles that defied the human mind. Philosophers from distant lands recorded my proverbs in their books as if they were the very law. Servants from Sheba to Babylon repeated my phrases, and my decisions were replicated in every city and village. And I believed it. I believed every word of praise, every song that exalted my name. I let the incense of adulation burn, and its intoxicating smoke enveloped me completely. I allowed the praise to seep into my bones, to become my blood, my very breath. I began to think that perhaps I was truly more than a mere mortal, that I had not just been blessed with wisdom, but that I was wisdom itself. On that day, I stood on my palace balcony, the morning breeze caressing my skin and the golden sun illuminating my shoulders. From up high, I watched my people below, a tapestry of colors and sounds moving through the city. The market was bustling with life. The laughter of children echoed in the streets, and musicians played songs that carried my name. I felt a shiver of satisfaction. I turned to a servant who stood beside me, a loyal man who had served my father, David, and asked with a voice heavy with pride, "Tell me, my friend, who in all the history of the earth has ever ruled with such splendor as I? What king has ever known such wealth, such peace, and such wisdom?" He bowed deeply, his face solemn, but did not say a word. And that silence was more cutting than any sword. It was more honest than any answer he could have given me. You see, the higher you climb, the easier it is to forget the ground you came from. And I, Solomon, son of David, who once pleaded with God for a humble heart and wisdom to judge my people, became drunk on my own legend. The fall began subtly, almost imperceptibly. I started adding more wives to my harem, not for love, like an ordinary man, but for alliance, for vanity, for a need to collect power and influence. I accepted princesses from nations that worshipped idols of wood and stone. Then I allowed temples to be built for their foreign gods, not out of belief, for I never believed in them, but because I thought I could control even idolatry. I played with fire, with faith, and with the laws of the Eternal One, believing, in my arrogance, that I would never be burned, that I was the master of the fire, not the victim. And then the voice. It was not a shout of anger, it was not thunder, it was a whisper, but as clear as the morning bell. "You are not above me, Solomon." That night, the vastness of my palace felt like a prison. I walked through the polished marble halls, and every step echoed like a hammer of judgment. The wealth on the walls, the gleam of the precious stones, everything felt cold and lifeless. The scent of incense, which once brought me comfort, now smelled like a profane sacrifice. I looked at my hands, the same hands that once wrote the book of Proverbs and dedicated a temple to the living God, and wondered how they now built altars for gods I couldn't even name. I remembered my father's voice, King David, who once wept for a single sin, and I wept for dozens, for hundreds of sins that had corrupted my heart and my kingdom. I went to the temple alone, the only place where I knew God's glory still dwelled. No guards, no priests, no sound of harps, just me, a broken king. I knelt before the altar where once the cloud of God's glory had descended, and I shed tears like a child. I did not plead for my kingdom, nor for my riches or my power. I pleaded for my soul. "Lord, if you must, take the crown, take the gold, take the splendor of this palace, but please give me back a heart that hears you. Give me back the humility of a servant and the faith of a son." In that absolute silence, I felt it. It was not a burning fire. It was not thunder. It was a weight lifting from my shoulders, a burden that dissolved into dust. I felt a silent, profound peace, the kind of peace that does not come from being a king, but from being forgiven. The next day, I began to rebuild not buildings, but the truth that had been lost. I called my scribes and, instead of dictating declarations of conquest and treaties, I wrote warnings. Pride goes before destruction. Better a poor man with integrity than a rich man with deceit. The wise man listens more than he speaks. The fool speaks without pause. These were not merely teachings, they were scars. They were wounds that pride had caused and that wisdom had transformed into lessons. I had almost lost everything, not to a war with an external enemy, but to an enemy within myself. And if I, Solomon, the man to whom God spoke directly, who built his temple, and to whom more was given than to any other king on earth, if I could fall, then so can anyone who forgets humility. Let this be my warning to you, a code of life that I forged in my own trials. Do not trust in gold. It can vanish in a day. Do not worship your name. It will fade with the wind. Do not silence the small voice within you, the one that questions your arrogance. That is where God speaks. If you find yourself rising to fast, kneel. If the world applauds you, check your soul. If you feel invincible, return to the altar of humility. For the day I almost lost everything became the day I found everything again. And that, my friend, is the true legacy of a king. I do not speak to impress you. I speak to save you. The Solomon Code. Ancient wisdom is not hidden in treasures or in distant kingdoms. It is in lessons like this, in codes that you can apply to your life, your business, and your journey. If you want to unlock the secrets of true prosperity, leadership, and wisdom, I have a code for you. Subscribe to the Solomon Code channel. Press the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Each week, I will share more codes, more secrets from my journey for you to build an unshakable kingdom. The Solomon Code, the wisdom you need to reign over your own life.